Prostitution, also known as the world's oldest profession. Every year in the U.S., between 70 and 80,000 people are arrested for prostitution, costing taxpayers around $200 million, according to hglegalresources.org. Should prostitution be legal? Prostitution is the practice or occupation of engaging in sexual activity with someone for payment. There is an estimated 2 million prostitutes in the U.S., and 90% are dependent on a go-between or a pimp. Many become prostitutes at the young age of 12 or 13 years old. The three broad types of prostitution are street prostitution, brothel prostitution, and escort prostitution. Prostitution between the prostitute and customer is usually punished as a misdemeanor, while acts promoting prostitution are treated as felonies. Pros of making prostitution legal. It would reduce violence against women. A study of San Francisco prostitutes found that 82% had been assaulted and 68% had been raped. Prostitutes who experience assault are reluctant to call the police since their work is illegal. However, sex workers in licensed brothels have protection to prevent these incidents from happening. Another pro is legalization would make sex workers healthier. Illegal street prostitutes might face pressure from their pimps to forego condoms and aren't required to undergo STD testing. States that legalize prostitutes can require sex workers to use condoms and get STD tests frequently. Prostitution is arguably a victimless crime. Sex work can be a victimless crime if women choose to sell their bodies. In a journal by Cornell law professor Shelby Cole, she writes, prostitution should not be a crime. Prostitutes are not committing any inherently harmful act. Another pro of legal prostitution is it can be a source of tax revenue and would save precious resources from law enforcement. If brothels were legalized, then state and county governments could gain significant revenue. The investigation of former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, authorities wiretaped 5,000 phone calls, intercepted 6,000 emails, used surveillance and undercover tactics that are more common for capturing terrorists. Cons of legalizing prostitution. Legalization increases human trafficking. Data from 150 countries showed those with legalized prostitution experience an increase in human trafficking. Regulated prostitution increases the market for commercial sex, which benefits criminal enterprises. Attempts to regulate prostitution have failed. In New Zealand, it was found a majority of brothels were abusive and conditions were not improved and had unfair management practices. The Ministry of Justice found that licensed brothels did not welcome frequently regulatory inspections. Another con is an increase in child prostitutions. In the Netherlands, when they legalized prostitutions, they thought this would end the problem of child prostitution. However, during the 90s, child prostitution went from 4,000 children to 15,000 in less than 5 years after legalizing prostitution. Another con is it boosts the motivation for men to buy women for sex in a socially acceptable way. Many men who would not risk buying sex now see prostitution as acceptable. According to the Rape Relief Shelter, when the legal barriers go, so do the social and ethical barriers to treating women as sexual commodities. Now for my questions. Should prostitution be legal?
Prostitution should not be legal. First, I believe it is morally wrong.
Okay.
It is the death of any relationship. Let's face it, any couple that is involved with each other, if you go and cheat on your significant other, they're going to dump you. How do you think your significant other is going to feel knowing that you had to go out to pay for something and then bring back some kind of disease because you know it's from a dirty person that they hooked up with? Nobody wants to bring that into their house.
Okay, good points. Is prostitution a victimless crime?
Yes, I believe it can be a victimless crime because
Explain.
it should be between consenting adults. The key word is adults. They need to be over the age of 18
Okay.
And they have to freely express that, yes, I want to do this. So if somebody wants to come out for a favor, and I'm more than happy to take some payment for it, because I'm an entrepreneur and I need to make that cash, I should have the right to do so, because I'm not getting hurt in the process. I'm for it, I need to make the money, so I should be allowed to do what I want with my body.
Okay, so I'm gonna lightly challenge you. Would you want your child to be in the sex work industry?
That's a very good question. I would have to say, as a parent, I would not want my child to be on either side of this spectrum. I would not want them to be involved in prostitution, and I would not want them to have the ability to go to a prostitute, because I think that is wrong on both sides.
All right. If you were in charge, how would you handle the prostitution issue?
It is a very difficult issue for our society to deal with because it's not clear cut. There are too many cases of, and I'm going to say predominantly men, that are into sex and child trafficking, human trafficking, and there's not stiff consequences for them. So I feel since they know they can get away with it, they're more than happy to take as many children or young adults and force them into this. So I would come up with tougher penalties for these perpetrators.
Okay, thank you. My compromise for the situation is I think it should be decriminalized, so then both sides are happy. You know, it's not the police's highest priority. I think if anything, there should be like speeding tickets. You just get fined or a ticket. My personal opinion is no, it should not be illegal because I think it does more harm than good.